Well, hello and welcome back to the AutoCAD 2008 tutorial series. Today we're going to be going over command line options. You may have noticed in the other tutorials as we were working, oftentimes on your command line you'll see words in brackets or within the greater than and less than symbols. Well, those are command line options that you have during some of your commands. We're going to be going over some of those and explaining what those mean. Before we get started, as always, you want to make sure that you've got your screen set to an AutoCAD Classic mode, which will give you a real basic AutoCAD window. If you go to your Tools menu up here at the top, go to Workspaces at the very top, slide over and click on AutoCAD Classic. That'll get you to the same screen or a similar screen to what I have. I've got my Draw toolbars on the left, Erase toolbars on the right, and my command line down here at the bottom. Well, command line options. One of the most basic commands in AutoCAD, obviously, is the line command, and that's where we first see our command line options. To start your line command, I'm going to go over here to my line button over on my Draw toolbar. I'm going to pick it, and it's asking me to specify my first point. I'm going to pick my first point, and after I do, you'll notice down here on my command line, AutoCAD says specify next point, or and then it has the word undo in brackets. And one thing to pay particular attention to is the fact that the U in undo is capitalized. Well, I have the option here to specify the next point. In other words, move my mouse around, specify the next point, and pick it. Or, as it says, I have this option right here in these brackets, undo. And to get that option or to process that option, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the letter U on my keyboard and hit enter, and that's going to undo what I've done. And I can go back one more time, hit U, enter, and I'm back basically to starting my line from the very first point. When you're drawing lines, that's a very common thing is to draw a line and realize that you didn't mean to draw that last line. You can get in the habit of just hitting U and enter, and then you can go back as far as you want, all the way back to the very beginning of that line. Now, you may have noticed something when I was doing that just then. After I picked my first point, I picked my second point, and I picked my third point. After I pick my third point, notice on my command line, I have another option that pops up. I have the option to close this shape at any time after I've drawn two lines. So, let me undo. I'm going to pick my first point, my second point, watch my command line, pick my third point, and now I have another option that pops up. I have the undo, of course, but then I have another one, close. Notice the capital C. So, as I'm sure you'll guess, to close, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit C, the letter C, and then hit enter, and AutoCAD is automatically going to close that shape. It's a real nice option to have. I'm going to erase this. I'm going to do it again. Pick, hit U for undo, pick a different point, pick this point, maybe U for undo, pick this point. This time I'm going to hit C for close, and hit enter. So go ahead and pause this and try that on your AutoCAD and get used to toggling back and forth between those options there. Well, let's look at another command that has some options with it. Let's look at the rectangle command. If you go up here to your draw toolbar, you'll notice there's a little rectangle there. If you select that, that's going to start the rectangle command. When I start the rectangle command, it's going to ask me to specify the first corner. So to find the rectangle, by default, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick opposite corners. Okay? So I'm going to pick one corner here. I've just picked. Now as I drag my cursor away from that position that I've just picked, I'm defining the opposite corner. Okay? And you'll notice that as I'm doing this, I've got different options. Okay? Before I picked my first corner point, I had the option to define the chamfer distances for the corners if I wanted to chamfer the corners. I have an option for elevation, an option for fillet if I want to round the corners. I have an option for thickness, and I have an option for width. I didn't pick any of those. I just picked the first point. Now AutoCAD is asking me to specify the other corner point or any of these options: area, dimensions, and rotation. Well, let's say I want to define this rectangle, first of all by picking that first point, which I've already done, but now I want to give it an area. Okay, so I'm going to hit the capital A, since that's, you see the capital letter there in area. I'm going to type in A and then hit enter, and then AutoCAD comes up and it says, okay, you wanted to define the area. Well, enter the area, or give me the area of the rectangle in the current units. Okay. Well, you notice another little option here that we have. This is what is going to be the default. Anytime you see these greater than or less than brackets, that's what AutoCAD is assuming that you want to put in. Now, it's made some assumptions here since we've just started a brand new drawings, but let's go ahead and go with it. It assumed 100, so that's going to put that in as a default. If 100 is okay, if 100 is okay, I'm just going to hit enter and allow it to pick 100. Now it's coming up and it's saying, okay, you've given me my first point, you've given me the area, I still need a little bit more information from you. Now it says calculate the rectangle dimensions based on either the length or the width. The default here is length, right? So it's asking me, do I want to base my rectangle dimensions on the length or the width? And again, the default, you'll see, it's in these greater than or less than symbols, is length. If length is okay with me, I'm just going to hit enter, and it's asking me enter the rectangle length, and by default it has 10. Well, I don't want that default. I want 15. So I'm going to type in 1, 5, and then hit enter. And now I've defined my rectangle. I've given it all the information it needs. I've defined it by picking the first point. Then I told it I wanted area. I wanted to define it by the actual area in units. And I gave it 100 units. And then I told it I wanted to define it by the length as opposed to the width. And I told it 15. And with that information, it was able to draw a rectangle that had an area of 100 units. I'm going to erase this and do it again. Start my rectangle command. AutoCAD's asking me for my first point. Now I do have these options here, but we'll get into that later when we go over rectangles. I'm going to pick my first point. Now AutoCAD says specify the other point, area, dimensions, or rotation. I'm going to type in A for area. Now AutoCAD is asking enter the area of the rectangle in current units. I've given it a point. Now I've told it area, and AutoCAD's asking me, okay, well, if you want to define it by the area, what area do you want to use? Well, by default it's got 100 in there. Let's go ahead and type in something different. I'll type in 150 units. And then I'm going to hit enter. Now it says calculate the rectangular dimensions, or the rectangle dimensions, based on what? The length or the width? Well, by default it already has length in there. This time I'm going to type in W, because let's say I want to do it by width. So I type in W, I hit enter. Now it's asking me for the rectangle width. By default it has 6.6667. Let's say I want the width to be 10. I type in 10, and then I hit enter. And that's all the information that AutoCAD needs to define that rectangle. So go ahead and play with that a little bit and choose some of those different options. Play with those different variables, choose those different options, and see what you come up with. So that's working with command line options. Something very important to get used to. So you want to play with those a little bit. You definitely, when you're dealing with command line options, pay very, very, very close attention to your command line. Because again, like I said in the earlier tutorials, AutoCAD's always going to be telling you right here at the command line what it's waiting for. If it's asking you to pick a point, or if it needs more information, it's always going to be right there. So pay real close attention to that. So until next time, I appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.